Have you ever met someone who never spoke a single word? For 8 years, Emma stayed silent. Not because she wanted to, but because she couldn't. Doctors had no answers. Her parents tried everything: therapy, special schools, even sign language. But nothing worked. Then, one day, she met him. A golden retriever with kind eyes and a wagging tail. And what happened next? No one could believe it. Stay with me, because this story will change the way you see the world. This was Emma's world. She was 8 years old. A bright, curious girl with big brown eyes. But unlike other kids her age, Emma had never spoken. Not a single word. Not mama, not daddy, not even a whisper. Her parents watched in heartbreak. Every birthday, every holiday, every school play, always silent. They tried everything: speech therapy, sign language, special schools. Nothing worked. Doctors ran tests, brain scans, hearing checks, endless appointments. But the results were always the same. Emma was perfectly healthy. No physical reason for her silence. So why wouldn't she speak? Was it fear? Trauma? Something else entirely? Her parents searched for answers. Experts gave different theories. Some said she was just shy. Others thought it was selective mutism. But no one really knew. At school, Emma sat quietly. She listened, she learned, but she never spoke. Other kids whispered about her. Some were kind, others weren't. Why doesn't she talk? Is she ignoring us? Is she weird? Emma never answered. She just lowered her gaze, hiding behind her long hair. Her teachers were patient. They tried to encourage her. But year after year, Emma stayed silent. Her parents felt hopeless. They dreamed of the day they'd hear her voice. But as time passed, that dream faded. Maybe she would never speak. Maybe this was just the way she was. And then, everything changed. One day, a new presence entered Emma's life. He had golden fur, big, warm eyes, and a heart full of love. His name was Charlie, and he was about to do something no one else could. He was about to change everything. Emma's world was quiet. She could hear everything: the laughter of kids at recess, the hum of the TV at home, the sound of raindrops tapping against her window. She understood every word people said, but she couldn't say anything back. Not a single word, not a single sound. At school, it was the hardest. Other kids didn't know what to do around her. Some tried to talk to her at first, but when she didn't respond, they got frustrated. Why won't she answer? Is she ignoring me? Does she even know how to talk? Emma wanted to tell them. She wanted to say, "I hear you. I understand you. I just can't." But the words were trapped inside her, like birds in a cage, fluttering, desperate to escape. So she stayed alone. At recess, she sat on the swings by herself. At lunch, she ate in silence while the other kids laughed and joked. In class, she wrote answers on paper, but never spoke them out loud. Her teachers tried to be patient. They called her smart, said she was kind. But they couldn't change the fact that she never talked. Her parents tried everything: doctors, therapists, specialists. Nothing worked. Her mother sat with her at night, reading stories out loud, hoping, just hoping, Emma would repeat a word. But she never did. Her father would kneel beside her at dinner, looking into her eyes. "Emma, sweetheart, can you say, 'Daddy'?" Silence. Always silence. It broke their hearts. More birthdays passed, more holidays, more moments where her parents wished, just one word. Please, just one. But the years kept slipping by, and Emma remained silent. Until one day, everything changed. It happened when they least expected it. Not in a doctor's office, not in therapy, but in the form of something small, fluffy, and full of love. A dog named Charlie, and he was about to do what no one else could. Emma's mother was running out of options. She had tried everything: doctors, therapists, special programs. Nothing helped. Nothing brought her daughter's voice to life. One evening, she sat at the kitchen table scrolling through her phone. Articles, forums, anything that might give her one last bit of hope. Then she found something. A story about therapy dogs. Dogs that helped children with anxiety, with trauma, with speech delays. Could this work for Emma? She didn't waste a second. The next day, she made the call. And that's how Charlie entered their lives. He wasn't just any dog. He was a golden retriever with soft fur, warm eyes, and the gentlest heart. He had worked with children before, kids just like Emma. But Emma didn't know that. When they first met, she just stared at him. Charlie wagged his tail. He didn't jump. He didn't bark. He just sat there, waiting. Emma's parents held their breath. Would she react? Would she turn away? Then, slowly, she took a step forward. She didn't speak, but she reached out. Her small fingers brushed against his golden fur. It was soft, warm, safe. Charlie didn't ask her to talk. He didn't ask anything from her at all. He simply understood. Day after day, they spent time together. Charlie would lay beside her while she colored, follow her as she wandered through the backyard, curl up at her feet when she read books. Emma had never connected with people easily. But with Charlie, it was different. She didn't need words. She would run her hands through his fur, feeling its warmth between her fingers. She would look into his eyes, and somehow, he always seemed to know what she was thinking. Little by little, she opened up, not with words, at least not yet, but she started smiling more, laughing softly when Charlie licked her hand. She made eye contact more often, reached out more, expressed herself in ways she never had before. It was small, but to her parents, it was everything. They watched, hopeful, wondering. Could this be the start of something bigger? Then, one day, it happened. A sound, a whisper, a word, and it changed everything. It happened on an ordinary afternoon. Emma was sitting on the living room floor, her tiny hands buried in Charlie's soft fur. He lay beside her, his big brown eyes watching her, his tail flicking lazily. For weeks, they had been inseparable. Where Emma went, Charlie followed. He was her shadow, her silent friend, her safe place. Her parents had noticed the changes. The way she smiled more, the way she reached for Charlie without hesitation. But they never expected what was about to happen next. Emma ran her fingers over Charlie's ears, lost in thought. Then, out of nowhere, so soft it was almost a breath, she spoke. Charlie. Her mother froze. Her father's heart stopped. Had they imagined it? Was it real? Emma didn't seem to notice their stunned faces. She kept petting Charlie, her lips barely moving as she whispered again, Charlie. The golden retriever's ears perked up. His tail thumped against the floor. He inched closer, as if he understood the weight of this moment. Emma's parents glanced at each other, eyes wide with disbelief. Had they really just heard their daughter speak? Her father swallowed hard. His voice trembled. Emma, sweetheart, what did you say? Emma looked up. She met his eyes. For the first time in 8 years, she didn't look away. Charlie. Tears filled her mother's eyes. Her father covered his mouth with his hand, afraid to breathe, afraid to break the moment. And then, as if a dam had cracked, Emma whispered another word. Good. Charlie licked her hand, his tail wagging faster, encouraging her, urging her on. Emma giggled. It was a sound they hadn't heard in years. She pressed her forehead against Charlie's fur, and, with a little more confidence, she said it again. "Good dog." Her mother let out a sob. Her father grabbed her hand, squeezing it tight. After 8 years of silence, Emma was speaking. Not a fluke, not a dream. Real words, real hope. And it all started with a dog. How did this happen? How did a little girl who never spoke suddenly find her voice? All because of a dog. It wasn't magic. It wasn't luck. It was something real, something powerful. Therapy dogs like Charlie are more than just pets. They are trained to help kids overcome fears, anxieties, and emotional barriers. For children like Emma, speaking can feel impossible. Words get trapped. The pressure to talk only makes it worse. But dogs don't pressure. They don't judge. They don't expect anything. They just listen. Charlie didn't ask Emma to speak. He didn't try to fix her. He simply stayed by her side. And that made all the difference. Studies show that therapy dogs help lower stress and anxiety. Just petting a dog can slow the heartbeat, ease tension, and create a sense of calm. For kids with speech difficulties, this is huge. The comfort of a dog makes the world feel safer. It helps the brain relax, removing the fear of failure. And when fear fades, words can finally find their way out. Emma's story is rare, but not unheard of. There have been other children, kids who struggled with speech, with trauma, with isolation, who found their voice through therapy dogs. Science can explain some of it, but there's also something else, something deeper, a connection, a bond. Dogs have a way of reaching us in ways people sometimes can't. And for Emma, that bond unlocked something no doctor, no therapist, and no amount of treatment ever could. It unlocked her voice. And once she started speaking, she never wanted to stop. Emma's journey didn't end with her first word. It was only the beginning. At first, her voice was soft, barely above a whisper. But every day, it grew stronger. With Charlie by her side, she felt safe. He gave her courage. And with that courage, Emma started to change. At school, she still didn't talk much. But when her teacher called her name, she didn't just nod. She answered. Here. One small word, but to her, it was a victory. At recess, she sat on the swings like always. But this time, something was different. A little girl walked up to her. "Hi, Emma," she said. Emma hesitated. The words felt unfamiliar on her tongue. But then she glanced at Charlie, sitting patiently beside her. And she said it. "Hi." Her very first conversation. Day by day, word by word, Emma's world opened up. At home, her parents were in awe. For years, they had spoken to Emma without ever hearing a response. Now she asked questions, told them about her day, laughed at her dad's silly jokes. And every time she spoke, her mother had to fight back tears. Her little girl, the one they feared might never talk, was finally finding her voice. And Charlie? He was always there, listening, encouraging, loving her just the same, whether she spoke or not. Emma's first words may have been small, but to her family, they were everything. Emma's story is more than just a miracle. It's a reminder that words aren't the only way to communicate. For 8 years, Emma was silent, but she was always listening, always feeling. She understood love, even when she couldn't say it. And Charlie? He understood her, even when she had no words to give. Sometimes, healing doesn't come from medicine. Sometimes, it comes from patience, from trust, from a golden retriever with kind eyes and a wagging tail. Charlie never asked Emma to speak. He never pressured her to be anything other than herself. And that's exactly why she found her voice. Because love isn't about fixing someone, it's about being there, day after day, moment after moment, until one day, the impossible becomes possible. Emma's journey proves something powerful, that kindness can break down walls, that patience can open doors, and that sometimes the best conversations don't need words at all. Do you know a story like Emma's? Have you ever seen the power of a therapy animal? Share your thoughts, because stories like this deserve to be told. And maybe, just maybe, they'll change another life too.